Hey, rock stars. Hypervac is back, and it's upping the cleaning and restoration game once again. Originating in the 1980s as a humble family-run air duct cleaning service in southern Alberta, Canada, Hypervac Technologies has evolved into a global powerhouse in duct cleaning equipment. Their product lineup boasts powerhouse solutions such as the Revolution 360 vacuum and groundbreaking tools such as the Cobra View camera system, all designed to enhance your efficiency. But here's the kicker. Hypervac Technologies dominates the competition with their top-selling non-PTO air duct truck in North America. Hypervac is now back with a bold new claim. Hypervac Technologies now keeps stock on all major products for immediate worldwide shipping, offering overnight freight to the USA and Canada, plus everything they offer is proudly built in North America. And it's not just about cleaning ducts. It's about elevating indoor air quality because after all, your ducts are your lungs. Their expertise extends far beyond North America with worldwide shipping available. With over 4 decades of industry excellence, Hypervac Technologies is your ultimate partner for reaching new heights in the cleaning and restoration business. So what are you waiting for? Visit their website at www.hypervac.com. Thanks for listening to a word from our sponsor. Let's get back to the show. Welcome to episode 194 of the Business Development Podcast. And on today's expert guest interview, it is my pleasure to welcome Mike Fata. Best-selling author, sold his business for 9 figures, and now he helps entrepreneurs everywhere. Not to mention, he wants to talk to us about how to live our best day every day. Stick with us. You are not going to want to miss this episode.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 194 of the Business Development Podcast. And today we have an absolutely exceptional individual to bring for you. Today we're chatting with Mike Fata. Mike is a visionary entrepreneur renowned for co-founding Manitoba Harvest Hemp Foods in 1998 and leading the company as chairman and CEO until its strategic sale to Tilray for $419 million in 2019. His journey began with personal transformation in 1995 when he lost over 100 pounds and dedicated his life to studying and practicing natural health. Over the past 25 years, Mike has become a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and a media fixture, sharing his expertise on natural health, nutrition, and sustainable business practices. His leadership and innovation have earned him numerous accolades, including Young Entrepreneur of the Year and EY Entrepreneur of the Year awards. Currently, Mike is the CEO of Fata & Associates, chairman of the board for Nuts for Cheese, and global growth advisor for Midday Squares. He continues to inspire and mentor entrepreneurs through his top-ranking podcast, Founder to Mentor, and his free mentorship program, fatafleishman.org. Mike's latest venture, his best-selling book, Grow, 12 Unconventional Lessons for Becoming an Unstoppable Entrepreneur, encapsulates his ethos of passion, integrity, and community. From his humble beginnings to multiple 9-figure business exits, Mike Fata's story is a testament to the power of resilience and innovation in creating lasting impact. Get ready to be inspired by a true pioneer in the world of natural health and entrepreneurship. Mike, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for having me, Kelly, and thanks for the intro.
First off, I finished your book, Grow, and we talked about this really briefly before the show, but man, I you really are, you know, you really are something special. And it was very humanizing. I was really surprised because the book isn't so much just about your journey and what you've done, but about the change and impact that you want to leave in the world. And that was really what I took away from it. It wasn't so much of look what I did, it's look what we could do as a community.
I love that. Look what we could do. Yeah, that's for sure. It's not my legacy is not what I've done. It's what I'm inspiring other people to do. My family, my friends, my community, and then a broader audience.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously you've accomplished so much, right? Like your name precedes you, obviously, right? Anybody coming to the show probably already has a pretty good idea of who Mike Fata is. Like as a Canadian, you've accomplished more than most. And first off, just let me congratulate you on your success. I know it didn't come easy. It's come with a lot of pain and a lot of sacrifice along the way. And I just want to say, congratulations on your exits, multiple exits.
I appreciate that. And you know what? I feel like I'm just getting started, Kelly. So that's the interesting thing about life and entrepreneurship. I don't rest on what I've done. I'm always, what's my next stage of growth? What's next for me? And it's just the mindset I've had. And I think that is a winning mindset, and I share that with other people. But that's authentically how I see it.
Well, yeah, and that's what I gathered as well, is that like at this point, you are so dedicated to continuing to help the entrepreneurial community. And, I can say like from my standpoint, that's what I aim to do as well. So I definitely align with you on that goal. And, it sounds like not only can you, but you now have the means to do so, however you like. And I think that that's a really cool place to be. And I'm really excited to chat with you about that as we go on. But, for the listeners that have come here, maybe they haven't got to the book yet. Who is Mike Fata? How did you end up on this journey?
Yeah, I'm a Canadian based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. I found my passion for health after losing 100 pounds and diving deep into the world of making myself better. And that led me to have interest in and get into the hemp food business, commercializing hemp hearts and some of the first hemp food products in Canada. And I was just super passionate about, okay, I built my best me that I could be. Now can I build the best business that I can build? And that's what kind of got me kicked off. And I've been doing that for 25 years now. We were successful in growing Manitoba Harvest to a $100 million revenue business and then selling it 5 years ago now. And over the last 5 years, so I've reinvented myself as an investor, an advisor, a mentor, author, speaker, all really focused on growth and personal and professional growth. I can't turn that stuff off. That's just who I am.
Man, there's a lot of people, Mike, that would say like, dude, you sold your business, you walked away with probably a good chunk of change, a lot more than many people do. And yet you still jumped right back into business. Like I always say, entrepreneurship is just a part of who we are. You can't escape it. And so many successful people look at them and say like, dude, you just walked away with, hundreds of millions of dollars, could do anything he wanted, and yet finds himself right back in the business world. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I'm a recovering entrepreneur, so I'm not operating a business. I mean, I operate my family holdco and investment company, but any of the portfolio companies that I'm invested in, I advise the founders. Sometimes I'm involved on the board as a chairman or a director, helping them with governance and just good business practices. But I say recovering entrepreneur because I'm not prepared to eat the shit sandwiches every day of actually operating a business again. And so, I use I've realized early on that I can't do nothing. I need to be personally and professionally growing, and I want that for everybody else. And so, nowadays I just feel like I'm time wealthy. And the way that I like to spend my time is helping other people be their best self and build the best thing that they can build.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like health has been something that I have struggled with and many Canadians struggle with, right? Like, I was listening to your story and you kind of took both swings. You had an eating disorder, which led to a lot of weight gain, and then went the complete opposite way and ended up with another eating disorder that led to anorexia. And I was just like, oh, dude, like I've been there. I get it. Like, I've struggled with my weight since I was 13 years old, man. And I still struggle with my weight to this day. And it is just one of those things that, like, internally, I resonated with that, dude. It really looks like now you've got it all together. Like, can we talk about that journey a little
For
bit?
sure. Yeah. I was uneducated about health when I was young, and I grew up with a poor single mom. And so cheap food and fast food was just part of the program. It was like the basis of it. And so I was just never educated about health. When I had enough at 18 years old, after weighing 300 pounds and being sick and tired like all the time, and I was literally sick and tired of being sick and tired, I jumped onto the health journey. And I didn't know anything about health, and so I had to learn everything. And so I went through a number of what I would call fad diets. Like the no fat diet was very popular in the mid 1990s. And so I read the book, Dr. Nathan Pritikin, and understood, okay, you don't eat fat and then you'll lose your fat. And so I started eating a no fat diet and working out and exercising too. But then I learned the exercise and the different things that I was doing was great. But the diet that I had chosen that I thought was the best thing was actually not sustainable. I don't think for anyone. I don't think anyone should be eating a no fat diet. Essential fatty acids, which weren't that popular then, are now, people understand omega-3s and good healthy fats. But that kind of led me down the next stage of my journey and exploring more, more diet protocols and other wellness protocols. And 25 years later, people see now what it's been for like 2 decades of stacking that on top of each other. I do live a really healthy lifestyle. I'm well educated on health, both from nutrition and diet, but also exercise and healing modalities, natural healing modalities. And I practice all of that on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And, obviously at this point in your life, you can really just focus on how can I be the healthiest version of myself possible. And I want to chat a little bit about that because, in a lot of cases, I think people get there when they suffer some type of illness or ailment, right? I guess on a certain level, you kind of did when you were 300 pounds, right?
No,
like,
not kind of did. I did. And I give people different perspective. But you're right. There's usually a catalyst that gets someone jumped off on their journey. Like my little sister, she got cancer when she was 21 years old, and thyroid cancer, and then went a full natural lifestyle, natural diet, and thankfully, after some surgeries and stuff, she kicked the cancer. But then it became super passionate and went back to school and became a naturopathic doctor. But that was her aha moment. Wow. My aha moment was, literally when I was 300 pounds, I didn't feel well every single day, and I just had enough. There was a straw that broke the camel's back. So thankfully, no major illness or disease, but like that situation that my body was in and where my kind of mind and emotions and even spirit were at was rock bottom,
Yeah, no. But I look at you now and I just think, like, first off, like, no one can see you. It's a podcast, but like, you're incredibly fit. Like, no one would ever look at Mike and say Mike was 300 pounds, right? Like, you completely changed it around, obviously went through a lot of adversity. Like, losing 100 pounds, losing 200 pounds, whatever, is a lot of weight to lose. It is not an easy task for anybody. Can we talk about that journey? Like, I imagine the mental resilience that you built from that experience was really the catalyst for starting Harvest Hemp.
Yeah. I think a lot of discipline, obviously, but it gets easier when you feel shitty and then you start doing things on a daily basis that make you feel better. Then you want to feel better. Right. And I just went down that rabbit hole. So yeah, there was a lot of discipline, especially around diet and understanding what I was putting in my mouth, because, let's face it, that's 80% of it for most people. Like, the human body is an amazing machine. It can heal itself, and you can go from obese and illness and disease to athletic. You just can. Yeah. It takes time, and so it takes time and discipline. A lot of people suffer because there's not all this information that everyone has. So you have to learn and then practice and experiment on yourself and see what really works for you for a healthy lifestyle that is sustainable, that you're going to do it actually every day. You know?
Yo, man. And that's obviously like the part that we all struggle with, right? All of us have been on fad diets. All of us have taken that jump. You know, I look back to being a young man. I smoked too. You talked about it in the book. I smoked until I was 25. And I remember just like you, I hit a wall where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can no longer smoke. This is not what I want to do. And dude, like you said, you tried to quit like 18 times. I'm sure I'm right there with you. I swear to God, dude, it took me like at least 15 to 18 times or more to like quit smoking. Like, it was so hard. But I remember the resilience I felt when I knew that I had finally kicked the habit, that it was really a part of my past, that I wasn't going back to that. And dude, I think I owe the person and like the strength I have today and the bravery I have today in a lot of ways to 25-year-old Kelly who kicked smoking, which seems really ridiculous, but it is those seemingly minuscule obstacles that give us so much strength.
Well, quitting smoking tobacco isn't a small obstacle. I mean, people have likened it to harder than quitting like heroin or hard drugs, just because of the habitual and chemical addiction to it. But I think you're right and I talk to people all the time, like if you could stack up little wins, like if you're in a place that you don't want to be in your life, you're overweight, or your mood's not good, or you're feeling depressed, or you're not in the job that you want, or you don't have the family and the community that you want, the friends group, like any of that, right? You can take steps to make that so. You have to have a clear vision of what you want, and then take baby steps, because when you do start getting these little wins, it brings more confidence. And then when you have confidence, you can get more little wins and keep stacking those up until you get to a place which I call living your best day ever, right? Being in full control of your health, your well-being, the work that you're doing, and doing exceptional work at something that you love, and then having a very strong, robust community, both internal, like with your family and friend group, and then external as well. And it's all very, very possible. It's just, you got to get clear that you want that, and then start working at it, start chipping away at it.
I loved your concept of best day ever. I'm not sure that I've had it yet. I don't think so. I've definitely struggled with balance, Mike. I have, like, especially since I became an entrepreneur, I feel like I've gotten out of balance with my own health. There's no question there. I've talked about it on the show plenty of times. Like, I've struggled with going to the gym and doing my daily workouts and looking after myself, and still feeling like I've gotten everything work-wise that I wanted to get done in my day, right? And yet I know, like, I've talked to so many people like you who's like, Kelly, get it together. Like, you got to figure out how to balance this stuff. But I know I'm not alone, dude. I'm not alone.
I don't love the word balance. I actually just declared a war on the word balance, just and balance means something different to everybody. And I get what you're saying, but life's not always balanced, right? Like, look at it out in the animal kingdom, and when a tiger is like hunting prey, and they're just running and running and running and running for the full day or multiple days to catch their prey, and that's their work, and then they go into like relax mode, hibernation almost, and just sleep for like 2/3, 3/4 of the day. Is that balance, or is that just understanding the rhythm of life? Because as entrepreneurs, like, you have to understand the rhythm, and the rhythm needs to be sustainable. That's why if you're your best self and you take the hour in the morning to do a wellness routine practice and do some workout, get the body right, or take a half an hour in the day to shop for good groceries and make, get a diet going of like whole foods, like healthy whole foods, that will make you 10 times more effective in your work. That'll make you enjoying yourself more. And then you could wake up and do that day after day after day. So I think about that as like, what's the rhythm that you need to take to because I worked multiple like years of 100-hour work weeks, and I wouldn't say that was balanced, but it was sustainable for me because I had the right rhythm.
Sure. What were you like? Man, 100-hour. Wow. I feel you. That's crazy. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, obviously, as entrepreneurs, in our own organizations, we're very driven to make them successful. And we do tend to put in what it takes. And sometimes that's straight to burnout. Like, I've talked to plenty of entrepreneurs on the show who have worked themselves straight to burnout, ended up hospitalized. Like, we do that to ourselves. And, how were you able to do that and still, keep to it? And I know you talked in the book that like when you eventually left Manitoba Harvest Hemp, you were ready to leave. Like you'd put in the time, you were ready to make that leap. And obviously it took a lot of time. You guys were very successful. It made a lot of sense financially. But, for the young entrepreneurs, the ones who are they're in their first, second, third, fourth, fifth year, and, they love what they do, but they're tired. They're struggling. Can we talk a little bit about that, Mike Fata?
Yeah, I started Manitoba Harvest when I was 21, right? And I believe now, and I'm 48 now. And so I believe that, in your 20s and even into your 30s is the time that you could take big risks in life and you can push the needle, you just can. It gets harder, I think, the older that you get, right? But when you're in your 20s, you could for sure dive into that. But I go back to like health. The reason that I could work 100-hour work weeks was because I was personally taking care of my health, even though 100-hour work weeks is very, very stressful, right? That part's not one wouldn't say that's not taking care of your health, but I'd say, well, look at like professional athletes, someone that is at a national level or even an international level that, the athletes that are going to the Olympics, they're working their butt off. They're working their body, their mind, their emotions. Like they're just going full tilt. The reason that's sustainable is because they eat really clean, they sleep, they hydrate, they have some de-stressing exercise like a meditation, so maybe some breath work, right? Like they do therapies, physical therapy, massage and stuff, emotional processing therapy. They have a coach that they talk to, and entrepreneurship is very much like being an athlete. You need to perform your best, learn the new trick of the day, of the week, of the month, perform it excellent, and get better at it all the time. And so the things that you can control about being your best self are really the foundation for setting you up to build your best business. And even if it does feel kind of stressed and you're doing the work, like it should be sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds too like, what I got from the book was that it came across very authentic. Like, the vibe I got from the book was that Mike is incredibly authentic. He's not afraid to speak his mind. He's not afraid to talk about his challenge. Was that always you? Or is this a new development as time went on?
I don't think it was always me. When I was young, I was scared, right? Because I wanted people to like me, and I didn't want to tell people like that I grew up with a broken family and just grew up with my mom, or that we were poor, And then after I chose to drop out of high school, I wasn't so proud to tell people that I dropped out of high school because people said, "Oh, you're going to be a loser." They had all this judgment, right? What I found though, and it was about the time that I started really going to therapy on a regular basis, which has been like 20 years. I remember the therapist asking me a question like, "What was my biggest fear?" And I responded after kind of like, just having a body moment of my biggest fear is regressing to the person that I was before, like out of overweight, out of shape, not in control of my emotions and stuff. And she said, how does that feel? How does that feel to hear those words come out of your mouth? And I said, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. And she's like, exactly. That's kind of what I thought, but it was speaking those words that were the moment of my worst fear coming to life, and it's not so bad. And so then I realized that, and this got intensified as I got into social media here over the last number of years, is when I share a piece of myself, like my concern, my fear, something that was a challenge for me that I got past, like it makes me stronger. It brings more confidence to me. I don't worry about what people are thinking about me, and so I encourage people, like, don't hide in the shadows of your darkness. Stand in your light, even if it's like sweeping out the dark stuff from your past or some of the things that you feel are holding you back, like bring that into the light, because we feel best when we're standing in our light, not hiding in the shadows of our darkness.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've struggled with that. Honestly, like people hear this show now and they're like, "Oh, Kelly, you're out there in the world." It's like, you have no idea how challenging it was for me to come out here and start to have these conversations and put myself on the line. I'm very introverted, dude. Like I grew up, same playing video games, building models. Like I was that nerdy kid who liked to work alone and do my own things and kind of live in my own world. And I became a lot more extroverted, more so out of necessity when I kind of ended up in the sales world and ended up in business development. But like deep down, I'm still very introverted. And there's still parts of me that has a lot of fear with regards to being out there in the world. But what I kind of recognized was that I had to challenge myself. I had to get out there because that's what I needed to do. And it's gotten easier and easier and easier. But like, I'm one of those people, hand up, where it's like, I still feel nervous sometimes. I still get
but
anxiety
that's natural.
out in the world.
I think here's my learning on that, because I do as well, right? Like feelings are just an emotional response. So it's very possible for us to feel things, but then we're not our feelings, right? And we're not even our brain or our body, right? We're the being, and so what does that being have the ability to do? It has the ability to witness those feelings and even those thoughts. And if you create that separation and a little bit of gap, then yeah, hey, I go on stage and I'm talking to 500 people. The butterflies in my stomach, so to speak, or the nervousness before used to paralyze me when I was just first starting out. Now I've been able to, I have a kind of a pre-routine for anything new and stressful that I'm doing, so a couple breaths and just get myself in the right mind space. And then I could feel the pressure still, but I witness that pressure. And so I have a separation from it. So it doesn't throw me off my game. And again, I love analogies that, bringing other parts so that people can think about it, like sports. When you hear that professional golfers, okay, when they're taking a very serious putt to get to win a championship or to win a round or even to win a certain hole, their heart rate can be up at like 140 or 150 beats a minute, which is like, wow, they're running a marathon kind of pace, and because your body has that ability to kick up into high gear really for the benefit, so that you're on your point, you're on your game, you're sharp, you're focused. And so it's best to like let those feelings happen, but just practice being a witness to it. And when I say practice, I'm getting at the like key thing there. It's all about repetitions and repetitions and repetitions. Put yourself out in those situations where you're going to get more chances to try whatever you're intimidated by.
Man, okay, I want to spend some time on this with you because you have a lot of public speaking experience. You've been in front of big crowds, big company full of people. Oh man, so many people, like you said, get debilitatingly anxious about that scenario. I look at myself and like, I'm almost a little bit embarrassed to admit it, Mike, but like as a kid, sometimes I'd be going to job interviews and same thing. I'd be like pouring sweat. I like nervous as could be, like to the point of like almost not being able to talk. Talk to me a little bit about like, how do you overcome that? Because it's a physiological response. Like some people, I would say in those moments, I didn't have control, or at least I felt like I had no control over how I was feeling. How have you been able to overcome that? I talk to public speakers a lot, and that's one of the questions I always want to know, because when it feels out of control, how do you take control back?
Yeah, I think that it's in preparation, right? Is the key thing, and the best thing we could do to prepare, from my experience, is visualize what we want the outcome to be. So visualization exercises, I've learned a lot about them over the years. I practice it on a regular basis. I practice my days, what I'm visualizing my days, what I want them to be. But for sure, if I'm in a new circumstance, I want to spend some time visualizing what I want the outcome to be. And if I'm talking to someone, a mentor, a friend that's done whatever I'm trying to do before, I will even ask them what good looks like what would they want out of it, so that I can even visualize that even clearer. Because I believe there's no dress rehearsals in life, but visualization is the closest thing to a dress rehearsal. And I put a post out on LinkedIn the other day about it, because one of my favorite quotes is Shaun White, the snowboarder Shaun White, gold medalist, renowned,
Yeah.
He said, he was the first person to do a 1080 flip trick, right? Which is like 3 rotations on the board. Right? And this is many years ago. But he said he visualized himself doing that trick successfully over 1,000 times in his mind before he actually landed it the first time. And so you could do that, like you could, before you walk into the meeting, be prepared with like, what do you think you're going to say? What do you think they're going to say? What are you going to say back to them? And like have that storyboard play a little bit. If you're going to go into a public speaking event, doesn't matter if it's like 5 people or 500 people, like visualize what it's going to feel like on stage and obviously what you're going to say. But like, it becomes, those are ways to do repetitions, without actually stepping into the circumstance yet.
Do you rehearse every one of your speeches, or do you go by talking points?
A little bit of both. I mean, it's been 20 years of me talking corporately, right? Promoting our business, to our customers, to consumers, to government. And so, a lot of it is a mix of storytelling and marketing, right? When it came to the business, at my own personal story, it's obviously very familiar to me. So I think about the preparation for a speech is usually with the organizer. What are they trying to, what do they want? Like we could talk about, growing a business or pieces of the business. How do you build culture in your organization? How do you bring on new customers or innovation of product? But a lot of times if I'm talking about my journey from a high school dropout to $100 million CEO and now an investor, author, speaker, it's just ingrained in me. So I prep only on kind of the chapters that I'm going to share, and not so much like what are the words. I think what I've seen from other people, and I've experienced it myself, if you're going to give a talk, is if you write the talk out and you try to go the memorization approach, usually fails, right? Because it's really hard to memorize. Whereas if you're giving the same talk and you just give yourself like 10 bullet words, and the bullet word reminds you of what you're going to jump off and say for that portion of the talk, works much, much better.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. I really appreciate that, because I actually had an interview a while ago with Carmen LaBelle, so ex-news anchor, who she now teaches public speaking, and she does recommend that you rehearse the whole speech. And I was like, Carmen, I don't know if I can do that.
Well, you can, no, and don't get me wrong, like rehearse the speech, but the speech doesn't have to be the same every time. Memorized speeches are the worst, because it sounds robotic and everyone listening to it goes, it doesn't feel like it's, it's really real. But I'm not saying don't practice your speech. I actually like I like practicing just to shoot video and watch myself on video, and it's more so for yes, you'll understand. Did I bring the most emotion to that statement that I wanted to share? Did I have my hands in my pocket? How's my posture? Those kind of things that just watching video and whatever you're doing, whether it's public speaking or you're playing a sport or it's just very helpful to, again, witness yourself in third person.
Amazing. I'm happy you took it to that, because I wanted to chat about that, because you're right. You have amazing videos. I really love your videos, by the way. And I do watch them all the time. And one of the things that I wanted to chat with you about is I get very nervous in front of camera. I have my whole life. I'm just like that. So I'm learning that. I'm recognizing that for me, that's a weak point of Kelly. And that's a part where I need to work on my own. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to say. It has so much to do with me as a person feeling uncomfortable about that situation. And I've kind of stayed out of it. I've done a show for like 2 years at this point by the time the show comes out. And most of the shows have been audio, more so because that's what I believe a podcast should be. But 2, because I've been a little nervous behind the camera, and I'm starting to realize that I need to do more on that front. I've had amazing guests who are like, Kelly, why don't you on like YouTube or LinkedIn all the time putting out videos? I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with it. Can we talk about that? Like, what was it like for you? Was that the same experience for you and you had to work on that, or were you just immediately good to go?
No, I'm not a natural at anything I do. If I'm a natural, it's I have a natural finance mind. I think my mom was an accountant and numbers come easy to me. So that part of business is more natural. Everything from a sales and marketing, putting myself out there, is all practiced, right? It's just more and more repetitions. But I think about it this way. our brain's job is to keep us safe generally. Okay. So your brain's really smart and will do everything it possibly can to keep you safe. And if that means after you shoot the first video that you start running thoughts through your head, oh, Kelly, you didn't have enough energy there. Oh, I don't like the way you look. Like all those thoughts, whatever they are, will play in our mind so that we don't do it again, right? And then we're safe, and so you have to overcome that. And again, go back to like, you could think it or feel it, but just you're going to do another 10 reps anyway, and because think about it this way. If you're out of shape, you're either overweight or you're a small, skinny guy or gal, and you walk into the gym and you want to start working out and get into better shape. Well, after 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, you're not going to have any results, right? But you're going to have a lot of opportunity for your brain to tell you, oh, I don't fit here. I don't belong. We should just not go there, And so I bring that to every exercise I'm doing in life, and media is no different. Like 4 years ago, I wasn't on social media, right? I wasn't telling my story. Like up until like a year and a half ago, I wasn't doing any video. Now I have multiple shows and sharing a bunch of pieces, and I feel like I've done so many repetitions so far of it that I don't have to really prep. I can show up and I know, okay, I'm ready to play now,
Yeah. And I get that because that's how I feel about podcasts now. And in the beginning, it wasn't like that. Dude, episode 3 was just about the end of the show.
When I first got my studio, all the pieces of my studio, I was so like, how do all these things work, and because it's a lot to learn, lighting, camera, whatever. And those can all just be distractions too. And so when I think about something, and, I launched 60-second pitch is my latest a show where I'm profiling entrepreneurs. And I told myself when I did that I was going to do 100 of those episodes before I really, really said, hey, is this working or not working? Do I enjoy this? And because that would give me enough time. And that's like probably 2 years worth, right? 1.5 years to 2 years worth. And now we're like episode 20 or 22. And I'm already like, okay, and we're advancing it and making changes and stuff. But I just know that that's the best way to, and I don't think it's just tricking myself that way. I think that's a good place to put the carrot for a number of people if they're starting out on something new that think is totally foreign to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was something about COVID that, and obviously COVID changed a lot, but I think there was something that COVID changed with regards to how business is going to be done, how important personal branding is. It's like, I feel like there wasn't a big spotlight and then COVID happened. And now it was like, you need to figure out how you are going to be you in the world. It's no longer just about the company that you have. People want to know, who are you? Who's the person behind the company? And so it was 2022 when I realized that I needed to do something. And I love podcasts. I listen to them all the time. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see how that goes. I could have picked YouTube. It was on the list of things that I was thinking about, but I loved podcasts. And so that's why I started this. And thank God, because I apparently have a voice for it.
Yeah.
But
it's one of those. I think so. I mean, I felt, again, I wasn't into social media and my personal brand because when I was working, and when I wasn't working, I wanted to be home with my family, and I just that changed for me after, and the pandemic was a driver for that. Like when our trade shows got canceled that spring, I was, how am I going to see all my friends and check out new products and stuff? And so I took to LinkedIn. But I think you're right. I think what the pandemic did, and especially the times of lockdown, were give you a view into everybody's home, so to speak, and that's where the people's interest in the of other authentic people. Like Sally likes cats. She has cats. You could see the cats in the background in her videos. Okay, well, that's cool. That's not a weird thing. Like, hey, 10, 20 years ago in business, people thought you had to wear a suit and tie and you had to look a certain way. And obviously there's still industries that do that, but more of the world is just changing to, it's not casual Friday. It's be yourself every day, be appropriate, of course, for business, but like be yourself every day, because us being our authentic self is our superpower. That's what we bring to businesses and bring to opportunities. And I just felt that the more that I'm myself, like I declared to the world, like I wear board shorts, every day of my life. It doesn't matter, summer, winter, hopefully more sometimes on the beach in the winter, but like, I just, it's comfortable for me. And I've realized the more that and that's one little example, but the more that I'm myself, the more that the world accepts me. Right. Because when we try to mask ourselves or try to be somebody else, that's when we're not being authentic, and people can just smell inauthenticity like a mile away, right? Especially nowadays.
Yes. And I look at being a kid, and it was hide who you were. You know what I mean? Like me and you, like you're 10 years older than me. I'm 35. I guess you're 48. So we're right in there, but I was like a little kid when you launched your first company. But like, I feel like I spent so much of my life trying to be someone else, And it's so weird because it's like, you're right. It's kind of like a light switch has flipped. And it's like, I was always this tough kid who like did what I needed to do. And I sucked up my feelings and I wasn't very authentic. It's a really weird thing to like recognize now that it's like we have this free pass to be who we were, but yet we've lived so much of our life hiding it.
Yeah, I think that's why therapy is good. I've learned that like the best athletes and entrepreneurs and executives and artists in the world have coaches, right? Performance coaches. If people like the term performance coach over therapist, then let's make it about performance coaches, right? But performance coaches or therapists can bring us to a place of healing and growth that we're not going to get to ourselves, and that's why I'm a big fan of it. And the more that we heal ourselves and we feel proud about ourselves, the easier it is to be our authentic self, right? And so the journey for many is really going to start with healing your emotional child and becoming really, really comfortable with who you are as an individual, and then shine that out to the world, shine that light.
Dude, yeah, I went to therapy for the first time during COVID. I'd never been to therapy in my entire life. And I remember feeling, man, I was nervous. Like, I was like, dude, I don't need therapy.
Right. Yeah. Brain trying to protect you again. Yeah. Well, everyone, I share a lot about it, obviously, because it's make a big impact in my life, but people saying that they don't need therapy are usually full of shit. That's like saying you don't need to go to the gym. Right. And people realize that generally too late in life or later than they would choose, and when they're out of shape physically, or they have a mental or emotional problem or even breakdown, right? But it's scary because there's nowhere to hide with a good therapist. You're going to be working through your own stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did end up enjoying the experience. So for those of you who are on the fence about therapy, just go. It's not as bad as you think, and it doesn't make you weak. If anything, it makes you
sure. Well, now we're living the time of knowing that, but yeah, or reframe it as going to visit your performance coach, and who doesn't want to perform better in all aspects of their life.
Totally. I know there's a lot of people, Mike, that are listening to this show. They've searched you and they're like, this dude has done amazing things. Like, he couldn't have suffered through that much adversity. And yet in the book, there's an 8-week period of your life. And I don't mean to like this has been such a great conversation. I don't want to take it to a downer, but I think that there's lessons to be learned here for a lot of people. You had an 8-week portion of your life where you lost your mother. You were going through a divorce, and I believe you were selling your company, or the deal had closed.
Yeah. Yeah. Call it the triple grieving effect, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that, when they sell a business, not only is it positive, like you have money in the bank, but there's a hardship, there's a grieving process, because that portion of life is dead. I literally, after we sold the company, the next day I couldn't go and show up at the office anymore and talk to my team of team members that I built over 20 years, to relationships together. Yeah. And it just so happened that, within the 2 months, my ex and I of 15 years decided it was time to separate and be co-parents to our kids. My mom passed away unexpectedly. And so I kind of hit the triple grieving where, I couldn't show up to the office because I wasn't welcome there anymore. I didn't have my kids every other week. And so I couldn't be a dad. I couldn't even have my dad hat on at those times. And I could no longer go and talk to my mom. And I didn't feel like I got closure there because it was sudden, her passing. Yeah, it was a really, really challenging time in life. And I'm thankful that, that I had done enough work on myself over the years, workshops and therapy and health practices and all that, that I knew what I had to do. And what I ended up doing was going into monk mode, which for people aren't familiar with that, you can Google it. Like, monk mode is a real thing where you just intensely focus on your health and being your best self, and, making sure you're sleeping good and you're eating good and you're hydrating and you're working out and all these things that I knew, but like really, really, that was my focus for a number of months, until I felt like I had processed all the grieving, because for the days and then the weeks, even, I was just an emotional mess. Every thought that I turned to had a dead end, and it was no longer. And so, and now I tell people about the journey of building your best day ever, like building your practices to become your best self and do your best work and build your best community, because not only is that unlimited amount of upside, but it's also downside protection too, that when you do find yourselves in times of challenges or times of grief, or what I would say, you're in the valley, chopping wood and carrying water instead of being on the peak. Like, those practices and those habits that you formed are really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me just say first off, I'm really sorry about the loss of your mother. I think any one of us can relate to how horrible and painful that is, regardless of how you're doing in life. That is not an experience anybody wants to have happen. And obviously the loss of your relationship, which would have also been devastating at that point. And yeah, dude, like, I just want to say, like, person to person, I am very sorry about that. And I think that you've done amazing things and came out the other side and have took something that is incredibly painful and used it to inspire other people. And I just want to say that was a part of the book that when I read it, I felt for you. And I just wanted to say I am sorry about
it. No, I appreciate it. And really, you know what? I don't have any hard feelings over it. This is the thing about grief, is if you take the time and it's different for everybody, so I acknowledge that, but like, you put some process to grief and grieving, you can feel all those feelings, have all those thoughts, and your body can process it, and then ultimately get to a place where you let yesterday die. But the opposite is it can be scary, where people are grieving, but they push it down and they bottle it up, and they don't process and they don't talk about it, and that can be with you negatively for the rest of your life. So, I took the time to actually go through and properly grieve and heal in that way, and so I don't have any negative attachment to it anymore. I feel like I did the work that I was supposed to do.
Amazing. Well, and now you use it to inspire the world. And so, what a positive spin on a bad situation, I guess, eh?
Yeah. Well, everyone's gonna experience it. I say, none of us are coming out alive. So
that's right, Mike. I gotta ask you, dude. Like, I come from a lower middle class family. Same thing. My parents were divorced when I was 12, so lived in a single mom household as well. So very relatable to that, and always had the dreams of what would I do if I had unlimited money to do what I wanted to do. I just got to ask you, are you living the life you thought you would live, or that you dreamed of? Is it really what is it like to have enough money to do anything that you want to do almost any day that you want to do it? Talk to us. You're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs who are dreamers. That's what we are all dreaming of. You've accomplished it. Was it everything you hoped for?
Yeah, I think I'm a simple guy, right? And part of it's because I did grow up poor, and we didn't, it was the simple things, right? We didn't have good food to eat. I had hand-me-down clothes, especially when I was overweight. I couldn't buy new clothes. And so, after I created success, and we've had multiple exits of success now, but even the first time that we sold the business, the majority of the business, I paid off my house, and I could buy whatever clothes I wanted to, and I could buy as much healthy food as I wanted to. Right? Sounds very simple, but that's what I wanted, but it was a big stress reliever, where I realized how much stress we live in when we owe someone something, owe the bank the mortgage, or owe someone your time just so that you can buy that next healthy meal. But that's really was it in the kind of the simplest form. When we sold the business again, and then we've had the third 9-figure exit, it's given me enough resources where, I can invest in other people. I can invest in other entrepreneurs and help them grow their business. And it's not going to affect my personal lifestyle. So, I'm not someone that aspires to fly on private jets and live on the yacht and have fancy watches and stuff. And nothing against anyone that is what interests them. That just doesn't interest me. I could still be out in nature, at the beach or in the woods or at the lake with nothing, and just some sunshine and water and some healthy food, and I am just fine. So I'm used to living that simple life, but I'm grateful for all the health practices and all the healthy things that I can afford and have in my life every day.
Yeah. And I guess like for me, I look at it as if I was you and I'd accomplished as a mate, like what you've accomplished, I would be seriously. And it sounds so stupid. It's like I should be caring right now about my long-term health. But I see that as being like when you achieve that, that is the next thing. It's like, how do I look after myself as good as possible? What are some of the things that you've learned since then that have really changed your life?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't wait on that. I could tell you that, nowadays, hey, I've been into the health practice for 30 years, right? Since I lost the 100 pounds, it's all health for me. Nowadays I have like 2.5 hours or 3 hours of a health routine every morning where, I get up and I have my coffee moment and I do some breath work and some stretching. Then I work out, and I have a gym at home, but I work out or I do some cardio, some biking or swimming, and then I go into the massage or into the sauna and into cold plunge, like doing some hot and cold therapy. And by the end of all that, it's like 2.5 or 3 hours, right? But I've had that routine for like 25 years. I just didn't always have 3 hours. Sometimes I had 1 hour. Sometimes I had 45 minutes. Sometimes I was getting up for a couple of years there at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning instead of like 6:30 or my normal time now, to make sure that I put that wellness routine in. But I would just tell people, don't sleep on your wellness routine. It's a trap. It's a trap to think that you're taking the extra time to work on your business or you're working your business together. Like, you will not enjoy it. If we're healthy, we could be focused on 1,000 things, right? If we're not healthy, we can only focus on one. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much time you have and stuff. So it's not worth it. I wouldn't wait until after one created success to start focusing on being your best self. Be your best self first and always, and that will help you become more successful in the work that you're doing, whatever that work is. If you're working for somebody else, if you're becoming an entrepreneur, like being the best at your craft.
I love that. I think we all just struggle with it though, because we all feel a little bit invincible at a certain level, right? It's like we're not. It's a dumb thing to think. But I think at a certain level, I know I've caught myself where it's like, I could go to the gym, but I also want to finish these show notes, or I want to do this, or I think what it is, Mike, is that just like a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm very busy. I do more than one thing. This podcast is something I love to do, but it doesn't pay all the bills. And there's other things I have to do in business development world to do that. And I'm sure like we're getting there. Like the reality is that there will come a point where this podcast does pay the bills, but it takes effort to get there. And I think for me, I've just kind of like relinquished. I know I'm not alone in this. I've just kind of said like, look, this is what I have to do in this moment. But what you're saying is, look, it's not going to matter.
For sure. Both. It's not going to matter if you're successful and your health is shitty. And you could look to the most successful people in the world that had poor health and then died. And that was everything that they communicated in their last words, But also that is a trap that your mind puts you in, right? Because the reality is, if you taking, I don't care if it's 20 minutes in the morning to do a little HIIT workout and do some jumping jacks and some push-ups and stretch and then like get yourself into and some breath work, like get yourself into a good spot. It takes no time. It's not the time, if anything, it'll add back time to your day. But yeah, it's easy to say, oh, I have to do this. I have to check off these 10 things on my business to-do list. And those are all things, Kelly, that I think about as like, that's working in your business instead of working on your business, or or just living your life instead of working on your life, right? We have to work on our business, and we have to work on ourselves, on our life, which is having a solid plan. Like, and then you just don't break that plan. If you're going to work out 5 days a week, make that a plan. And then that there's not I'm going to sacrifice that for work. No, that's part of the playbook. You have to check them all off for the day, for the week, much healthier way to think about it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm doing a lot better. I'm doing a lot better at trying to like be more present in my life, because I have felt that way. I've felt like, okay, today's the time that I need to sacrifice. And I have not been living in my life. Like, it's a very weird thing to say, because it's like, of course you're living your life, but no, Mike's right. That's exactly what happens. You end up in this like weird circle where you're not really living. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not maximizing what's possible. So, and then again, this, hey, my mom worked as a single mom 42 years of her life. I'm glad that I got to work with her for, I hired her at Manitoba Harvest for the last 7 years. But the day after we sold the business, she retired at 65, and 3 weeks later, she had a heart attack and died. And so her saving up for her retirement. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna be able to go and do these things, the message there is that doesn't always come, right, for a number of people. Yeah. So you have to live in a sustainable fashion, and the number one important piece of living in a sustainable fashion is working on your health, like every single day.
Yeah, your best day. Every day.
Best every day, best every day simplified, being your best self, doing your best work, and building your best community. Those three things, if you like work on those aspects of your life and have a plan for it, you're going to get to your best day ever. If you just silo yourself in one thing and say like, hey, I'm going to sit at this desk for 14 hours a day, it's not going to be as fulsome and enjoyable as you think it's going to be. The outcome is going to be negative.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, dude. This has been a really great conversation. I really appreciated your time. Obviously, Mike, we're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs right now. Some of them, maybe they haven't even taken that jump. Maybe they are still working in their job, but they have that great idea. They're you a very long time ago, and it's time to take that leap. What type of advice might you give those people who are on the fence?
I think sometimes you need to take the moment in time to really weigh the odds, and a lot of people are maybe rushing into the decision or not giving themselves enough time to think about it. So I like scheduled thinking time, where you say, and some people like, again, there's some greats that formalize this, like go away by yourself, for one day and bring a journal and a notebook with you, and then reflect on what you're thinking right now. From the job that you like, do you like the job that you're doing, or maybe you want to change careers? That's a major transition. Maybe you want to start that business, but that time to reflect and turn that reflection into a plan is the most important thing you could do. It's kind of what we talked about earlier. Have a vision, and then turn that vision into a plan, and then act that plan. That's the most sustainable thing you could do, and there's less risk that way. That's what I would. That's another example of working on your life, and right, instead of just working in your life or working on your business even before you start it.
Yeah. It's like, what we end up in is like autopilot, right? Where it's just like, I'm doing the thing that I do every day, and we call it success, or we call it, this is, what I have to do. But on some levels, we're kind of just hiding behind it, aren't we?
Yeah. Your brain is grid at autopilot. Everyone has that feeling, like, those days you wake up in the morning and you get ready and you get in a car and you drive yourself to the office, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, how did I get here? I don't even remember that whole first part, like that could happen over and over and over and over again, right? Where if you schedule a time to really reflect how your life's going, like I'm a big believer in an annual plan. Well, my annual plan and my growth plan is not only for our business, but it's also for, my personal life, like me personally, and then my community, which includes my family, and then extended community, right? Having a plan of like, what am I trying to accomplish? And especially if there's like major transition stuff in life, like I would say now I've become more of an expert in transition because I've had so much of this transition. I could see it when other people are thinking about transition, like thinking about changing their job or their career, thinking about starting that business, thinking about, oh my God, I have to wind down my business that I started and then go back to work for someone else or start another business. Like some of these things that are major transitions, like it's you want to be well practiced in reflection and having a plan, even if it's a very simple plan. So I'm a big believer in have a plan and then live the plan, and then check and readjust your plan, and then live your plan again. Is not only in business but in life. That's a way to develop great success.
Yes. One of the things that I've noticed is that it's really hard to see the future. Right? I can tell you I've planned for plenty of things, both in my personal life and my entrepreneurial life, and amazing things have happened, but usually not in the order or the timeline that I thought they would. How much of entrepreneurship is just being prepared to do something new or to try something you've never tried before, or to take that opportunity as it presents itself versus planning for the whole thing?
Yeah, I'd sum it up to say, entrepreneurs we're making something out of nothing, right? So it's about as close to a magician as you possibly can. And I don't think you want to be prepared, but I don't think you can ultimately be prepared for every instance, every obstacle, which is why it's like it's why you have to be athletic. It's a contact sport. You're gonna get punched in the face, and what do? Do you stay down or do you get back up? And I think highly successful entrepreneurs just keep getting back up over and over again, right? And why I think you should. It's why you need to really enjoy what you're doing. Like overall, the theme of what you're doing, I think you need to enjoy it, because there is going to be plenty of hurdles, plenty of barriers, and even brick walls in front of you as you grow your business.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. I would say that entrepreneurship is not the easiest path taken by any means, but it has been the most rewarding path I could have ever imagined. Has it been? Would you say the same thing?
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing, Mike. That takes us to the end of our show today. But before we do, I know that there's a lot of people listening right now who are like, okay, could I hire Mike as a coach? And I think the answer to that is yes. Are you still doing coaching, Mike?
I have a couple hours of coaching a week on my calendar, which it was a request from I did a number of years of mentorship, and then I got all these requests for mentorship, and I literally don't have enough time in the day or the week for mentorship, and so I do have a couple hours a week on my calendar for coaching, and it's self-serve. You can go onto my website and book an hour, and it's really a growth coaching, like helping people figure out the next step of growth for their business, or their business and their personal life. And so that is available for anyone that wants it. MikeFata.ca.
Amazing. And then you also are not just doing that, not just paid services, but you have a whole bunch of free services that are amazing. Can we chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, from my, I'll call them tools of mass mentorship, whether it's, connecting on social media, on LinkedIn, my newsletter, my podcast, and then fatafleischman.org, which is a toolbox of basically over 1,000 forms and tools and templates that I've used to start and grow my business. With my friend Greg Fleischman. We put out all those out for free. You can go and sign up for a free account at fatafleischman.org and utilize all the tools. There's thousands of entrepreneurs that use it on a regular basis, and it's just a great resource.
Dude, like one of the hardest challenges when I started my company was, what forms do I need and how do I get them? Like, amazing. Thank you for doing that. And I will be sharing the crap out of that on all these posts, because I know so many entrepreneurs are spending thousands of dollars having the same legal documents or whatever else drafted up by lawyers over and over and over again.
How to start a business, how to incorporate your company, how to, templates for running your first budget, HR documents like interview questions and employment agreements, and you name it, across all departments in the business. And I don't believe that those, these are all things that I would have wanted when I was a younger entrepreneur. And so it was my give back, Greg and I's give back to make them available for free.
Amazing, Mike. No, that's really great. And thank you for doing that. And obviously, we've been talking to Mike Fata. We've talked a little bit about his book, but Guys, just get it. It's an amazing book. I picked it up on Audible. I imagine it'll be available on Amazon, and I will be sharing the link along with this show. So come on over to LinkedIn. You'll be able to find it there. And the book is called Grow: 12 Unconventional Lessons for Becoming an Unstoppable Entrepreneur. It is not just about Mike's story, which is an amazing story, but it's about inspiration. It's about changing the world. And it will motivate you guys. It really is a great book, Mike, and I loved it a lot. So thank you for writing it, and thank you for coming on with me today.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Until next time, this has been the Business Development Podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.
Hey, rock stars, ready to power up your team and take your project to new heights? Meet BizSync Solutions, led by rockstar expert Deanna Keene. BizSync Solutions is proudly Indigenous and more than just a staffing agency. They're your partner for building a diverse, skilled, and high-performing team. With over 16 years of experience, they excel at providing staffing solutions across various industries, from skilled trades and project management to executive roles, payroll, and administration. And now they're thrilled to offer medical personnel and mobile treatment centers across Canada, delivering reliable, professional, on-site medical support wherever your projects lead you. Diversity drives BizSync's mission. They create inclusive environments where every voice is valued, crafting workforces that truly reflect the dynamic industries they support. Whether you need top-notch tradespeople, office professionals, executives, or on-site medical teams, BizSync connects you with both temporary and permanent placements. Their team guides you every step of the way, from pre-project planning to procurement, helping you achieve your goals and drive success. Experience the BizSync difference today. Visit www.bizsyncsolutions.ca or call 1-866-442-7962. That's 1-866-442-SYNC. Thank you, BizSync Solutions, for your support of the Business Development Podcast.